February the 23rd, 9:34 AM, District Court, Defendant Lobby number 2. How did the investigation go yesterday, Mr. Wright? Frankly, there's still a lot of grey areas. Are there any areas that... Oh, yeah. Or rather, the whole thing is one big grey area. Don't worry about me, no matter what the outcome. I'm ready to accept my fate. I believe in you, sis. Mr. Wright, let me offer you a word of advice. Yes? A defense attorney should never believe their client. The defendant is called to trial because they are suspected of wrongdoing. Never forget that. Miss Sky, you remind me a lot of Mia. But there's one decisive difference between you and her. And that is... You're not a defense attorney. I believe it's almost time for the trial. Good luck, Mr. Wright. My first trial without a Fae helping me. No one's going to bail me out this time. I'll be alone in there. So I have to discover the truth all by myself. Let's do it, Mr. Wright. I'll be with you the whole way. Let's do it, Emma. February the 23rd, 10 AM, District Court, courtroom number 9. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution has been ready for a while, Your Honor. Edgeworth. It's been 2 months, but I haven't been in a courtroom since his trial. I hope that personal feelings will not be a part of the proceedings today, Mr. Wright. I will choose the path I think is right, regardless of what those around me might say. The judgment to be made here is in our hands, not those of anyone else. Very well, Mr. Edgeworth. Your opening statement, please. Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky has committed an unpardonable crime. Not only this, but she was rash enough to commit it in the prosecutor office's lot. Wow, he's much more forceful in person. I suddenly feel like confessing to everything. However, she will now pay for her rashness with her life. There was a witness to her crime. A professional witness. Well then, call your first witness, Mr. Edgeworth. The prosecution calls its first witness, Miss Angel Starr, to the stand. The cuff-up queen? Haven't I seen you somewhere? You ordered the caviar lunch, right? Oh, caviar. I've never eaten caviar before. The judge is really wolfing it down. Ah, and for you, I have a fiesta bowl. Thanks. Will the witness state her name and profession? Ah, and you, sir? Did you order the fingerprint lunchbox? It is too early for lunch. Your name and profession, please. Well, Your Honor, how does it taste? So this is why everyone raves about caviar. It's so tasty it hurts. I always thought caviar would taste like pickled tapioca. What the heck does pickled tapioca taste like? Name, profession, now. Me? The name is Angel Starr. Don't go forgetting it. I find myself running Lunchland these days. Is that what you wanted me to say, Mr. Edgeworth? Very well, witness. Please describe the incident to us. The prosecution will wait. I'm not finished eating. Hurry it up. Very well, Mr. Edgeworth. As you know, we usually call on the police to provide a description of the crime. Your Honor, as Mr. Edgeworth has said to the court, I am a professional. What exactly does that mean? Until 2 years ago, Miss Angel Starr was a special investigator with the police. She was a first-rate homicide detective. What? Miss Star was a detective? Ah, I know who you are. Cough up. Cough up, Queen Angel Star, Your Honor. A long time no see. Very well. You may continue with the description, Miss Star. Just who is this lady? If I might have the court's attention over here. The parking lot at the prosecutor's office is divided into 2 blocks. A block is for the prosecutor's office personnel. B block is for visitors and clients. A chain divider separates the 2 blocks. I suppose that's to keep visitors from taking up prosecutor spaces, yes? The crime took place by a car in the back of A block in the car's trunk. The killer stabbed the victim with this knife and went to drive the body out. Unfortunately for her, there was a witness and an arrest was made on the spot. And who was this valiant witness? Why, it was me, Your Honor. Okay. Parking lot floor plans. Witness, did you see the very moment of the crime? Of course, Your Honor. Immediately after that, I apprehended the chief prosecutor. It seems rather cut and dry, doesn't it? Well, Mr. Wright, I can't agree in principle, Your Honor. It seems that some poor losers are unwilling to accept the truth, Your Honor. Shall I proceed to crush what little hope they have remaining? If you can, then give them your worst, Miss Star. Wait, are they talking about me? Witness's account. Somehow I always knew a day like this would come. I was on my way to deliver a lunchbox to my boyfriend when I sensed something. Perhaps it was my finely honed detective's intuition at work. Through the wire fence I saw the chief prosecutor standing next to a garish car. The chief prosecutor was holding a knife in her right hand. Then she thrust the pointy tip of the knife into Detective Goodman's chest. Bringing a lunchbox to your boyfriend? How touching. As you can see, there is no room for doubt. The key point of your testimony seems to be nothing other than the point of the knife which you saw being stabbed into Detective Goodman. So, how does it feel to be so utterly crushed? I'm still thinking about that. It's merely a flesh wound, Mr. Wright. Very well, Mr. Wright. You may cross-examine the witness. Okay, what do we have? How did you know? I respect the prosecutor's basic abhorrence of crime, yet their methods are ugly and twisted. Twisted methods will always lead to tragedy. The lunch lady's uninformed opinion is duly noted. Given that they are used to erasing inconvenient evidence at their whim, killing off a detective that knew too much is merely an extension of that. Miss Starr, do you have something personal against prosecutors? I felt that I had found my dream job when I became an investigator. And if I hadn't been laid off by those prosecutors over there, I'd still be one. Laid off? She was fired. To me, prosecutors are nothing more than worms. That said, I am a pro, as you know. My testimony is unbiased and flawless. Very well. You may continue, Miss Starr. Okay. This boyfriend, he's the detective? Not that boyfriend, the security guard. That boyfriend? You have several? Yes, this boyfriend, that boyfriend, and the other boyfriend. Care to join? The yet another boyfriend position is still open for applicants. I'll stick with the lunches, thanks. Note to self, the judge had to think before replying. The security guard room is in a lock-in A block. It's up on the second level, so you can see everything from there. That would be the room with the security sign. Incidentally, did you bring your lunchboxes by car? Since I'm a visitor now, I parked in B block. So she was in B block when she witnessed a crime. Was it your finely honed detective intuition? You sensed something? So you're saying you had a premonition of the murder? It felt like, how would you say? Oh yes. It was like the feeling you get when you view a pumpkin chock full of seeds. I have no idea what that means. Speaking of a detective's intuition, wasn't the victim Mr. Bruce Goodman also a detective? Yes, well, he was like a young cheese. A young cheese? A pale white cheese, not yet tangy with experience on the streets. A greenhorn. Then it must be hard yellowed and sharp as a tack. Yeah, with the odor of an oak cheese to match. In any case, there in the lots I felt something stirring in the back of my mind. Did you know? By garish car you mean... Mr. Edgeworth's car, yes. Mr. Edgeworth's? Incidentally, the knife with which the victim was stabbed was also Mr. Edgeworth's. Wasn't it? Indeed it was. What an odd case this is. And the person you saw, you're sure it was the defendant? I saw her from no further than 30 feet away. I'm certain it was her. If she's telling the truth, we're doomed. Let's just do what we can. Even if we don't have any proof, we can always nitpick. Witness, in your testimony you clearly stated the following. Prosecutors are nothing more than worms. Ergo, you are a biased witness. You might want to keep those silly opinions to yourself in the future, rookie. Huh? Rookie? Unless you're willing to risk the consequences of doubting me. I'll fry you like a fritter, crispy on the outside, chewy on the inside. That was inspiring. I believe I've heard that tagline elsewhere. You could cry plagiarism. I may be relegated to the lowly post of lunch lady, but my instincts are honed. A photograph. You took this? The moment I witnessed a crime, my reflexes took over and snap, I took a picture. In fact, one of my lunchboxes is rigged with a camera. I suppose that's more exciting than just hanging it around your neck. Witness, why am I only seeing this photograph just now? You think I'd show it to you, a prosecutor? Think again. My boyfriend works in the photography division of criminal affairs. Well, this is most certainly the defendant. Crime photo added to the court record. Uh-oh, that is unmistakably Lana Skye. So, what was the defendant doing at the time? She was holding a knife in her right hand. Tell me more about this knife that the suspect was carrying. Well, I'd say the blade was about 4 inches long. Is that right, Mr. Edgeworth? It is your knife, after all. Yes, that's about right. Prosecutors are, by nature, well versed in the location of a man's vital organs. I'm sure it was easier than boiling an egg for my ex-last surprise set. You can't testify as to her ability to kill an egg, I mean a person. Perhaps a chicken salad set would have been a better metaphor. So, the defendant was holding a knife. What then? Okay, she thrust the pointy tip of the knife into Detective Goodman's chest. Tell the court why you didn't try to stop this crime. You did see her raise the knife to strike, no? The defense has a point. Unfortunately, by the time I realized what was going on, it was already too late. Too late? Yes, the next moment, the chief prosecutor brought down the murder weapon. I see. It's only a flesh wound, Mr. Wright. We can make it. You said that before. Anything else? Scientifically speaking, Miss Starr's testimony is flawless. Sounds pretty fatal to me. What do we do? Is this it? Is my sister guilty? Yeah. Let's go home. Let's just keep our heads cool and press the witness a bit, shall we? For some reason, having her panicking next to me makes me calmer. Don't smile like that. I always knew a day like this. Oh. Yeah, we've gone through this already. Yeah, go on. So basically I have to find evidence now. Okay, what do I have available to me? I've got Goodman's ID. I highly doubt that that's going to be of any use right now. Same goes for the King of Prosecutors trophy. The knife? No prints. Well, she did wear gloves in the picture, so that's fair enough. The time wasn't mentioned at all in the testimony. That's pretty useless, I think. The autopsy report. One knife wound. That checks out, to be honest. The victim's memo. I still don't fully understand that. Wait. We don't even have a date, do we? Actually, we do. The 21st of February at 1712. Does that mean the 12th of February? Or the 2nd of December? I'm not sure which date system the game is using. Actually, I am sure. It's the 21st of February, so this should be the 2nd of December, I guess. But what do the numbers above it mean? I don't know. A cell phone at 5:18. I don't need to investigate. Last call made to Sister Emma at 5:18 on the day of the murder. Okay. The parking lot. So the murder took place here, and she was somewhere here. We don't know exactly where she was, so I can't really use that as evidence against anything she said. That's probably the only thing I can even imagine being any sort of evidence. I mean, she's closing the trunk of the car with her left hand. Normally you do that with your dominant hand, wouldn't you? But I mean, that's barely evidence at this point. As Emma said, that's nitpicking at best. But I don't think we've got anything else to go off. One knife wound, yeah. Let me quickly check. What did the blood say? Must be the victim's blood. Yeah. Alright, it was that one. Okay, so not important right now. So I'm pretty sure. Wait a second. Yeah. Wait a second. Why is there no blood on the tip of the knife? She said she thrust the pointy tip of the knife. I mean, this is also just... But yeah, there is no blood on the tip of the knife. I think this is better evidence than the left hand, right hand thing. Let's go with that. Note the music didn't change. Alright. We're gonna go with the left hand thing then. Yep. That didn't win you any points with the judge. Of course it didn't. Yeah, I went too far, I know. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Let's check this. Let's go for it, why not? Yeah, okay, it was that. And you witnessed this? You saw Miss Sky stab the victim with the knife? As I've already said, yes. I swear it on my finest salmon swirl lunch. I'm sure that is a fine lunch. But isn't that odd? Look at this photograph. This is the photograph you took of the very moment of the crime, is it not? Then why is Miss Sky not holding a knife? Oh, that's the reason. I mean, she could have just thrown it away. I don't really see that as valid. I mean, also, she could have just left it stuck in the body. There's really no reason for why she would be carrying the knife. Then again, if you leave it stuck in the body, the victim might survive a bit longer, depending on where she struck him. Also depends on why he died. Does it say his death? One knife wound. Yeah, death due to loss of blood. So you shouldn't really leave the knife stuck in there if you want the victim to die of loss of blood. Okay. Still, I don't fully agree with this line of reasoning. Maybe we'll get a rebuttal anyway. Mr. Edgeworth, your thoughts? Objection. That had to be the weakest objection ever, Edgeworth. Yet it was still stronger than your ever feeble mind, Mr. Wright. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? This photograph was not taken the moment before the stabbing. This was taken the moment after the stabbing. Well, obviously. What do you mean? That was obvious. She said she didn't have the time to stop what was going on, so why would you have the time to take a photograph? And how... Phoenix, please don't be so dumb. How can you tell that? Blood splatter. Huh? No, she was just walking around with her coat coated in blood. Of course she was. See the dark crimson stains on the chief prosecutor's coat? But there's a black and white photograph. Yeah, what else would it be? Mud? Why would you still be wearing it then? Why would she be wearing a white coat over her uniform anyway? Yes, it's hard to tell, but this could be blood. Well, Mr. Wright, I see no problem here. No problem, except you. Mr. Wright, are you going to just sit there and take that kind of abuse? You got a better idea? We have to. I mean, I don't have an objection, but... Wait, that contradicts what the witness said in her testimony. Namely, that she took the picture the moment she witnessed the crime. Well, it seems I was slightly unclear. My apologies. I mean, the moment she witnessed the crime would, in my interpretation, would mean the moment she witnessed that it was a crime, which would have happened after the victim was stabbed, obviously. Or, well, technically would have... Alright, let's listen. That's it? If you run out of lunch, you order seconds. Problem solved. If you don't like it, try ordering the jumbo-sized lunch from the get-go. Good advice. I'm not sure I understood it, but good advice. I didn't have time to stop her. Prosecutor Sky was cold, calculating like a robot. She killed without pain or remorse. It was a premeditated murder. Premeditated? How do you know? Look at the chief prosecutor's hands in that photograph. Yeah, that and the coat. Well, are the gloves Surgical gloves made of thin rubber, most likely. Why would she have those on? If it was not premeditated, she would not be wearing those gloves. Ah!
Those gloves do seem to tell a tale of premeditation.
Premeditated murder. A serious offense.
Witness, add this to your testimony.
Okay. What if she was just in the habit of wearing gloves, like driving gloves? The gloves were admitted as evidence when the defendant was arrested. They were rubber gloves of the kind used for autopsies. In other words, when the chief prosecutor came to the crime scene, she came to do murder. It's the only possible conclusion one can make. Everything was planned. It was a premeditated crime.
Ah! Impressive. I'm sorry they took you off the force, Miss Starr.
This is bad. He's got them thinking this was all planned. If she can prove this claim, the trial's already over. I've got to think of a way to show that this wasn't premeditated. It's only a flesh wound, Mr. Wright. We can make it. You said that before. Anything else? Scientifically speaking, Miss Starr's testimony is flawless. Sounds pretty fatal to me. Okay, this is just the same conversation over again. Alright. Okay, we need to go back to the premeditated murder and we need to disprove it. How do we disprove it? I don't know. Oh, god damn it. Yeah. Come on. Get me to where we need to be. Yes, lunchbox. Intuition. Wire fence. There we go. Didn't she just take something out? She took something out of the testimony. Okay, premeditated. Goodman's ID? No. King of Prosecutors Trophy? No. Edgeworth's knife? No. If anything, that just supports the theory of premeditated crime, because why would she have Edgeworth's knife on her otherwise? The parking stop? No. The blue badger panel? No. The autopsy report? No. I don't think so. Bruce Goodman, date and time of death February the 21st between 4 PM and 5:30 PM. Loss of blood from chest wound. Wound was caused by a 4.5-inch knife. A single stab wound was found. Checks out. The victim's memo. I still can't read the top line. It's the 6 dash and what? 7S? 1S? 1.5? 7.5? You can't tell. Then we've got the phone. Open it up. I probably can't hear the phone call, can I? There's no need to push this again. What's wrong? You look like I do during finals. Never mind, it's nothing. Okay. Well, the strap probably doesn't have anything to do with it. Yeah. Nope. Not important. Parking lots. Well. You know what? Wait, no. That's probably important later. I mean, it's behind it. In fact, that just supports the premeditated thing even more. It takes place behind that wall that blocks her off from the security room. But she was standing over there, so that doesn't matter. And we've got this photograph again. Is there anything that supports that this wasn't premeditated? I mean, she's got gloves on, she's got a coat for blood splatters. Looks pretty damning to me. Can't see any reason why it wouldn't be. Would the core make any difference? Wait a second, when exactly was the... Oh, it was between 4 and 5:30. So that's not very, well... I was thinking about Miles Edgeworth is... But that just makes it even more premeditated. Like, the fact that she pretty much went there as soon as Edgeworth was there? Actually, let me think. 1712. I can't see a time there. I was looking for something. I mean, it could say 6:15, but who on earth would make wouldn't write a time down like that? You know what? For now, no, not percent. For now, we're gonna save. Okay, what do we have? I doubt there's anything else I can really go against. Next to a garish car, yep, you could. And everything else before that is just totally unimportant. Yep, it is. Yep, you saw her. The murder was planned. The rubber gloves prove it. In Edgeworth's toolbox. Huh. She took the knife out of Edgeworth's toolbox. Maybe that? Like, the knife wouldn't have been there if Edgeworth's car wasn't there, but... I mean, if she knew there was a knife in Edgeworth's toolbox, that just basically voids the whole argument, but that's the only thing I can think of. It was right. Witness, do you know what this is? Are you trying to test me? I sell box lunches for a living, you know. That's a knife. The knife. The knife that was in Mr. Edgeworth's trunk. Indeed, it is my knife. What's with this case? Oh, the defendant is the chief prosecutor for the district, right? Mummy, are prosecutors bad people? The defense has a request. We ask that the witness provide an accurate testimony. What's that, rookie? In your testimony, you stated that Lana Skye planned this murder, and that's why she was wearing those special gloves. Seems like a natural conclusion to me. The gloves do indicate planning. I agree. However, why would she not also prepare the most important thing, the murder weapon? I mean, if she knew Edgeworth's knife was in his car, she didn't need to. Ah. This knife just happened to be in the trunk of that car, did it? Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to plan a murder, you don't forget the weapon. At this point, I'd like to ask Edgeworth if the knife is always in his car, and if anyone has ever seen that, or if he's ever told anyone that. Order, order, order. Great, now the tide is turning in our favor. Great show, Mr. Wright. My sister's as good as free. Edgeworth's got something to say about that. Right. I believe the next lunch you'll be eating is humble pie. What? I hope you weren't deluding yourself into thinking that the tide has turned. Not over such a trifling detail. But this shoots a hole in the whole premeditated theory. Not really, but even if it did, that doesn't really make her any less guilty. The prosecution could care less if it was premeditated or not. The only one who seems to care is that lunch lady over there. The defendant, Lana Skye, murdered a detective with a knife. That is the only thing the prosecution need prove, nothing else. Very good, Mr. Prosecutor. I suppose you think you're clever now. But you know as well as I do that she planned on killing him. It was planned. If it wasn't, why would she have been wearing...
I believe I'd like to hear your testimony again.
Witness, please tell us only what you saw, not what you thought. How dare you? My powers of deduction are not to be underestimated. Really now? Angel's deduction. Lana Skye intended to murder Detective Goodman. That's why she called the victim all the way to the prosecutor's office. I'm sure the chief prosecutor had a grudge against the victim. Nothing else could drive that human machine to plunge the knife in again and again. Okay, that's easy to disprove.
The victim was summoned from the police department to the prosecutor's office. It does sound a lot like premeditation, doesn't it?
So if I ordered a pizza, does that mean I'm planning to kill the delivery boy? Yes, Emma, that's exactly how it works.
In any case, the defense may now cross-examine the witness.
I mean, we don't even need to do a lot here. That's fair enough. That's also fair enough. That's possible. That's just straight up bullshit. And didn't happen. You say she stabbed him again and again. But you couldn't have witnessed that. Are you testing me? Then I'll test you. With my moss surprise. I'm afraid the moss is growing under our feet as we wait, Miss Starr.
What do you mean?
I shouldn't have to explain this, but take a look. The autopsy report states that death was due to a loss of blood from one stab wound.
Aha! You're right. Good show, Mr. Edgeworth.
What a hunk. He's my hero, really. What about my objection? No one noticed?
Well, witness.
You got the crime scene set, right?
Oh, thanks.
I always believed that no one could ever mistake ketchup for blood. But now I realize that such mistakes are possible. So, you're saying you mistook something for blood? When she lifted her knife, I thought I saw blood at her breast. Splattered blood from her victim. That's why I thought she must have stabbed him at least twice. Weak arguments.
Then tell us what you saw that you thought was blood. Testify.
Her red muffler looked like blood to me. That's how ghastly the whole scene was. Her red muffler? Yes, like a scarf. The chief prosecutor always wears one around her neck. So she can be easily hanged at a moment's notice, I suppose. She's right. Miss Skye was wearing a red scarf, wasn't she? But wait, isn't it odd that you mistook that for splattered blood?
Well, people often mistake my beard for a bib.
A judge with a bib. That's why this place feels so much like kindergarten sometimes. Actually, I do think I saw some traces of blood on her chest. However, the autopsy report is clear on this matter. There was only one knife wound. Apparently Miss Starr isn't entirely sure of her own testimony. Mr. Wright, this is our chance. Chance for what, I wonder? Miss Starr has turned out to be as short-tempered as she looked when we met her. Challenging her abilities as a detective really set her off. The short wick burns out the fastest. It's a scientific fact. I wonder, wouldn't it depend on the size of the candle? I mean, add more wax and even a really short wick will burn longer. She's taking notes. Obviously, more scientific testing is required. Uh-huh. Let me just have a quick look at the photograph again. No, not that. Not that photograph. That photograph. She's not wearing a muffler, by the way. Yes. Her red muffler. Well... Miss Starr, I demand an explanation. The witness is clearly not suited for detective work. What? The suspect was not wearing a scarf or muffler of any kind when she stabbed the victim. And you've proved it yourself with this photograph. Huh? But that can't be. Only a professional lunch lady could be so utterly clueless. Congratulations, perhaps you finally found your true calling in life.
Harsh words, but good.
In the end, Mr. Edgeworth prevails. What was my objection, chopped liver? But it was there, a scarf. No, not that, but something red. Really? Well now, where were we? The witness has given us an entertaining interlude, but back to business. What?
Very well. Witness, continue your testimony. You saw the crime and apprehended the suspect. Tell us about that.
Very well. I do remember some things accurately, at least. Ultimately, we couldn't shake the most important part of her testimony. The most important part? The part where your sister stabs the victim. This next testimony might just be the moment of truth. Phoenix, I know how long this case is. It's not going to be. Apprehending the suspect. After the murder, the suspect attempted to run behind a partition off to her side. I quickly caught her, explained her rights to her, and arrested her on the spot. Ah yes, when I arrested her she mentioned the muffler. That's what had me confused in my earlier testimony. The chief prosecutor made to escape, but against Angel Star, resistance is futile.
You know that there's a fence in between the B and the A parking lot, right? You must have been very quick to get through that. You're quite determined about the scarf, aren't you?
I strike like a snake and bite like a cobra. That's me, Angel Star. That wasn't a very good metaphor. First of all, a cobra is a kind of snake. Don't bother me with details unless you want to get bitten. No thanks. Note to self, Mr. Wright is weak against poisonous snake bites. I think everyone's weak against poisonous snake bites. The chief prosecutor tried to resist, but her efforts were in vain. She knocked my hands aside, kicked over an oil drum.
An oil drum? Hard to imagine.
Oh, she's beautiful, but deadly. A predator, this one. A leopard woman. Rawr.
Very well, Mr. Wright. Your cross-examination, if you will.
Okay. The main part I want to talk about is this one. How did you quickly catch her? You say quickly. Were you close to the suspect? As I just said, I was only 30 feet away from her the whole time. I mean, that's not particularly close. Maybe I should press her for more details. I'd like to see this on the floor plans, just to be safe. The lunchtime car was on the other side of the fence. She was a visitor, thus she was parked in B block. So you witnessed the murder from here?
That would make it about 30 feet from the car, yes.
Is that correct, Miss Starr? Yes, that's right. But there was a chain link fence in front of you. I went over it, of course.
Amazing. The cough-up queen. Lunch lady athlete, indeed.
It would have taken her a little time to climb over the fence. So she couldn't have got to my sister that fast. Yeah, the fence was about 9 feet high too. So how did Miss Sky not get away?
Okay. Okay, let's press her on everything else as well. I mean, that alone should disprove it. But let's press her on everything else too, just to be safe. So where is this partition on the floor plans? Phoenix, please.
I'm sure she means this wall next to the car.
That's right.
There was a wall there, about 6 feet high. She was obviously trying to hide herself. Quite a natural thing for a criminal to do. And what did you do then?
You quickly caught her. We pressed her on that. She mentioned the muffler? What exactly did she say?
If I remembered exactly, I would have told you in my testimony.
Cheeky.
Anyway, all I heard her say was the word muffler.
Just that one word?
So, what you heard wasn't a suspect talking to you, but to someone else?
Ah.
Yes, the chief prosecutor was talking on her phone.
Her phone? She can't mean. By phone, do you mean this cell phone discovered at the crime scene?
Yes, ultimately.
Ultimately?
My memory... It's like a salmon heading upstream, you see?
No, the court doesn't seem a star.
The chief prosecutor first attempted to use the phone hanging on the wall.
On the wall? That's right. Near the car, there was an emergency phone on the wall.
Apparently, it was out of order.
And so she used her cell phone?
Indeed, the emergency phone was out of order that day.
Good witnessing, witness.
Good witnessing? Whatever happened to good testifying?
You should, of course, add this to your testimony.
The things I do to please this rookie defense attorney.
Okay. The word muffler was overheard during a call made to M at 518.
Okay.
You saw this all. Do you think you could restate your testimony for the court? You saw this all behind the partition. I mean, that's a long time to see something that you... I mean, you know what I mean. I was going to ask the same thing.
I'll only say this one time, so listen close, rookies.
Yeah?
The chief prosecutor stabbed the victim and ran behind the partition. Then she picked up the emergency phone on the wall, but it was out of order,
which you totally saw through a fence, a car, and a wall.
So she pulled her own cell phone out of her pocket.
And during that time, you climbed over the chain link fence.
Then, when I boldly grabbed her arm, the chief prosecutor hung up her phone.
And you saw her doing this?
What is it, Mr. Wright?
Yeah, less so. Let me present the floor plans. Miss Starr, I have to conclude that you have a personal grudge against Miss Lana Skye.
The witness is a former detective. Her testimony is unmarred by personal bias. Well, who would have thought you would be my knight in shining armor, prosecutor? You who, together with the chief prosecutor, kicked me out 2 years ago.
Well, Miss Starr, this is a fatal contradiction with your testimony. How do you explain this?
Huh. I don't know what you're talking about. Mess with me and I'll make you cough it all up.
Let's look at the floor plans. You said you witnessed a crime from this point. However, if that's true, you couldn't possibly have seen Miss Skye making that phone call. I believe you see what I'm getting at. That emergency phone was on the backside of this partition. If indeed you were in B block, you couldn't have seen it. What? Ah!
Order, order. What is the meaning of this?
It's simple, Your Honor. She's not coughing up lunch, she's coughing up lies. That's quite a claim, Mr. Wright. Perhaps you will allow me a question. Tell us exactly what lie this witness has told the court. Here's where the counterattack begins. I can't afford to get this wrong. The witness lied about... What did you lie about? Where she saw it. Because she saw it from the security guard office. She therefore didn't see the actual murder take place. She only saw the phone sequence. Miss Skye tried to use the emergency phone, but it was out of order. What is significant about this fact? Nothing. Therefore, it would be pointless for Miss Starr to lie about it.
Pointless to lie. I see.
But say the witness did actually see Miss Skye using the emergency phone. It would mean Miss Starr witnessed the crime from a different location. A different location? Now that's a pointless lie if I ever heard one. Before you call my lie pointless, at least let me tell it.
Let me ask a question to our clever wordsmith, Mr. Wright. Just where was the witness when she saw the crime?
All the testimony we've heard until now points in one direction. The place from where Miss Starr witnessed the crime was here. Here. Present. This is the only place where she could have been.
The security guard room?
Indeed, the security room in the underground parking lot is well positioned. It's built on the second floor so you can see the entire lot.
She would have been able to see the emergency phone from there. But why there? There are many other places where she could have seen the phone.
Not in this case, Your Honor. The witness, not being part of the prosecutor's office, couldn't park in A block. The only place where she could have seen the crime in the back of the partition is here. I remember in your testimony you said you brought a lunch to your boyfriend in the security guard room, yes? Well, Miss Starr, how many years have I been getting the better of man? To think that the tables could be turned. Today a man has got the better of Angel Starr.
Or, witness. What have you done? You used to be a detective, you should know better.
I'm not turning back. The guilty will be punished. And I'll do what I must to make sure justice prevails. She reminds me of Von Karma a bit. The guilty, is she talking about Miss Skye? Mr. Wright, doesn't this strike you as odd? Why did Miss Starr lie? It doesn't make sense. Uh-huh. She could have just said she saw the crime from the security guard station. It wouldn't change anything. Exactly. This photograph tells all. It was the defendant who stabbed the victim. But who then took the photograph, if Miss Starr wasn't there? That's the issue here. That truth still stands. It still stands? I disagree, Mr. Edgeworth. What? If a witness is found to be lying, they're guilty of perjury. She knows this. She wouldn't risk that without a good reason.
So tell us what your reason was, Mr. Wright.
Huh? Me?
Who else?
Mr. Wright, let's review what we know. Miss Starr witnessed the crime from the security guard station. But she lied and said she saw it from B block. It must make a vital difference. But what? What would change? I mean, maybe? Irrelevant. Distance to the crime is roughly the same, isn't it? I mean, slightly further away, but that's not really a problem. The angle of view to the crime certainly would change. Why? The angle at which she saw the crime occur would change.
The angle? What do you mean?
Well, the security guard station is on the second floor, and, she would have sort of a more 3D view of the crime. And this is important. Why? Perhaps you'd like to reconsider, Mr. Wright. Okay. Mr. Wright, let's review what we know. Yeah. A vital difference. Difference in lighting. Let me have a look at the floor plans. Would it make a difference in lighting? No. Obviously not. Well, I mean, it's hard to define difference in lighting, isn't it? Like, there might have been a shadow over the back of Lana, but you're looking at it from a different perspective. The lighting itself hasn't changed. It's just you looking at it from somewhere different. So this can't be it. It has to be the distance to the crime, which is slightly different, but I don't know how that's important. It changes the distance between her and the scene of the crime. My condolences, Mr. Wright, but one look at the floor plans and it's quite clear. The distance between the scene of the crime and the guard station is 30 feet. Yeah, that's what I thought. It is the same pretty much. I don't see how that would change what she could see. What she saw is not in question here. What matters is the time it would take her to reach the scene of the crime. Well, that's true. But we simply don't know how long it takes from the security guard station to the area, to the A parking lot. That could be a shorter time than climbing over, like, I can't remember how tall it is, 6 or 9 feet? 9 feet fence, I think it was. Miss Starr, you witnessed the crime from the security guard station. Now, how long did it take you to go from there to the scene of the crime where you arrested Miss Sky? If anything, it will probably be shorter. Well, witness. You... Yes? You ordered the squid wheels, right? The quality of my lunches has gone from low to inedible. I was bringing a PB&J lunch with fresh boysenberry jam to my boyfriend. Boysenberry for the boyfriend. He wasn't in the station, so I waited. I witnessed the crime from the glass-walled station. And before I knew what I was doing, I found myself running toward the scene. Now that's definitely quicker. I'd say, let me think about this. To get from behind the fence here, over the fence, and all the way through here. With a reaction time about a second, then climbing over the fence would probably take like 7 to 8 seconds at least. Depending on what shoes she was wearing, but given her look, she was probably wearing high heels. Which also makes jumping off the fence impossible, because you break your foot basically. You can't land a 9-foot jump with high heels. So you have to climb down the other side of the fence as well. Let's add it, let's make 10 seconds out of it. Then running through here will probably add another 5 seconds to it. 16 seconds, roughly. Getting out of here, opening the door, 2 seconds. Running down this, another 3 seconds, 4, actually it's 2 flights of stairs, 4 seconds. With high heels, let's call it 5. So with 7 seconds, through the door, another 1 second, 8 seconds, and she's here. This is much quicker than if she were on the other side, so I don't see the reason why she would lie about it. But the door, oh, fair enough. The door was locked, I couldn't open it. Okay. Well, that adds a whole lot of time. That's why I had to go through the visitors' parking in B block. That also explains why she could take a photograph from there. Fair enough. That's quite a detour. It probably took me at least 5 minutes to get to the scene of the crime. 5 minutes? This changes things considerably.
But it was that woman over there in the defendant's chair who stabbed him. I know it. I have photographic evidence. I swear it. I swear it on my finest plastic spork.
You have a point. The spork is a wonderful invention.
Would you like another caviar lunch?
Absolutely. Uh-oh.
Mr. Wright, you have to do something. Do you have any evidence to stop this?
Sure.
5 minutes between the witnessing of the murder and the arrest. Think about it. You could make past in that amount of time. If you like it, I'll dete. What are you talking about, Phoenix? I've got lunchboxes that tie pasta into knots, rookie. A 5 minute blank. Isn't that strange? Strange. If you were a criminal, what would you do with 5 minutes, Your Honor?
Well, I guess I'd flee the scene. Hey! Don't get the wrong idea, I didn't kill anyone.
But you have the instincts of a killer. You would run, but this time was different. Miss Skye dawdled at the scene of the crime. She even had her picture taken. No true criminal would act this way. It's inconceivable. Yeah! I mean, it's circumstantial evidence at best.
Well then, it seems we've come to the end of this testimony. The witness has a grudge against the defendant and a blank in her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, is the next witness ready to go?
Unfortunately, I appear to have overestimated this witness on account of her professional history. We did it! We screwed that can shut, Mr. Wright. That was too close.
I'm afraid that the cuff-up queen has been dethroned. And with that, court is adjourned.
Mr. Edgeworth, you ordered the squid wheels, right? That's the one she tried to foist off on me. I prefer to not take the defense team's leftovers. Anything else to say? I might be able to save you. I have decisive evidence.
What was that?
Is this another one of her trick lunchboxes?
My apologies, but we have no further questions to ask of you, Miss Starr.
Ah. Is this your jumbo lunchbox?
Ooh, a triple-decker. Out of deference to the witness's determination, I'll allow one more testimony. Let's hear about this decisive evidence.
Like the lunchman Matsu says, you won't be disappointed. What's she going to pull out of her lunchbox this time? I should have mentioned those 5 minutes when I wasn't looking at the crime scene. And now, to the matter of the victim's shoe. Did I not bring this up? 2 types of blood were found on this shoe. One was of course the victim's, and the other blood type matched that of the defendant, Miss Lana Skye. This shoe proves it. It's flawless, decisive evidence.
What? There was blood found on that shoe?
Try Lunchland for all your lunch and decisive evidence needs. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Why is this the first time I've heard of this evidence? Simple, as I've already said. I don't trust you with evidence, Mr. Edgeworth. That's why I took the liberty of investigating this myself. And you had blood tests performed? Didn't I mention? I have 3 boyfriends in forensics. In any case, Your Honor, I can't accept this as evidence. What? You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. In other words, this shoe is illegal evidence, at least for the time being. I swear the game broke this rule in one of the earlier cases, and I even mentioned that that's a thing. Is that right, Mr. Wright? Seems so. Edgeworth sure is celebrating. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. Or did she actually submit it beforehand, but just... that wouldn't be the case, would it? Don't forget, I used to be a detective. As I mentioned previously, this shoe has already been tested by a member of the forensics department. As you can see, it was approved by the police department as of today. Even the general public can produce official evidence, Mr. Edgeworth.
He didn't check before the trial.
Is that right, Mr. Wright?
Seems so. Edgeworth is looking pretty sullen.
You could at least study some evidence law, really.
The prosecution's complaints notwithstanding, it appears that this evidence satisfies the first rule of evidence law. However, it seems you have yet another count against you, witness.
Anything to ensure that the guilty are properly judged.
White animal shoe. Bears traces of blood from Goodman and Lana Sky. Very well, Mr. Wright. You may cross-examine the witness.
Okay.
I mean, you should have, but there's probably no contradiction there.
Why did you lie about those 5 minutes? I guess you could say I just wanted people to look at the results.
The results?
How many times do I have to say this? I saw the chief prosecutor stab the victim before my very own eyes. Compared to that, a 5-minute blank means nothing.
Then why didn't you just tell the truth?
Don't make me laugh. We're dealing with the most untrustworthy of the vile lot known as prosecutors. Falsified evidence, arranged testimonies, erasing and manipulating evidence. When you fight monsters, you need to use every trick in the book.
This one, the suspect is admitting she did it. But false testimony is the most despicable crime of all, Miss Starr. Let's just get this over with.
Yeah, that kind of just ignoring people submitting false testimony all the time.
Surely this would end badly for the witnesses.
Okay, no, you didn't bring this up. And you found the shoe at the scene of the crime? I detained the chief prosecutor and notified the police department. I wanted to make myself useful while I was waiting for the police to arrive.
So, like an ill-trained pooch, you snuck off with a shoe.
I was afraid someone would erase the chief prosecutor's crime. This shoe was my secret weapon if that should happen. See this fashionable basket I have here? It carries more than lunchboxes, gentlemen.
I'm happy for you and your lunchbox bag, really. In any case, you removed valuable evidence from the scene of the crime. Now tell us what you did next.
Okay. So you brought it to the forensics department. If you're going to submit something as evidence in court, you need it approved. To do that, evidence must be analyzed by a forensics expert.
She got away with a little coup because she used to be a detective. The shoe does appear to have bloodstains on it.
Well, the man was stabbed after all.
And that blood belonged to the victim, Detective Goodman.
As I said, there were 2 types of blood found on the shoe.
You can't say for sure the blood belonged to the defendant with a blood test.
You claim to know something about blood tests, rookie?
Huh.
Well, speak up.
Well, blood comes in 4 types, A, B, O, and AB. However, you can't tell from a blood test whether a murder was committed in cold blood. I don't see your point, and neither does anyone else. That's just a figure of speech, Mr. Wright.
Actually, we can differentiate between millions of types with all the blood tests out there. Which means that we can more or less narrow any sample of blood down to just one person. Or so I hear.
That's pretty specific.
If I had a little more time, I would have gotten DNA test results. But they said there's very little doubt it could be anyone's but Miss Lana Sky's.
So the suspect's blood was found on the victim's shoe.
That ties her directly to the death of Detective Goodman. I was afraid he was going to say that.
I can't let this evidence go through without a fight.
You ordered the peppered fish guts, right? Some like it hot, Mr. Wright. Some, like your client, she's in enough hot water to make a whole vat of soup. Mr. Wright, do you or don't you have a problem with this shoe?
A problem? This is critical. Is there a problem with the victim's shoe? I mean, let me just check this. There has to be a problem with the shoe. I know that, but I can actually check this. Why is there shoe down here? Why is there shoe down here? Why is there blood down here?
Ah, there's blood here too.
On the sole of the shoe? It's got to be the victim's. He must have stepped in a puddle of his own blood. What?
All this blood. It's horrible.
This blood might be an important clue. What do you mean it must be the victim? What do you mean he must have stepped into a puddle of his own blood? What about this?
This blood. It's my sister's, right?
It appears so. Lana's right hand was bandaged when I saw her in jail. She must have cut herself at the time of the crime.
Poor sis.
Alright. Let me look at this. Those aren't white shoes. Quite clearly. Okay, there is a problem. If I'm not imagining things, I'd say there's one critical problem with this evidence. A clear contradiction.
That gleam in your eyes. You're still young, rookie. I'd give you a peppered fish gut now. But you couldn't take the heat, could you?
Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What is contradictory about the victim's shoe? Oh, it's the victim's shoe. Well, I forgot that this was supposed to be the victim's shoe. Well, the blood on the sole? The music stopped, so yes. I wonder if you noticed there's blood on the bottom of this shoe.
Don't mess with me, rookie. Or it'll be your blood on the bottom of my shoe.
Indeed, there is quite a bit of blood on the bottom of the shoe.
It makes sense. The victim was stabbed with a knife. What could possibly be contradictory about blood on the bottom of his shoe? Yeah, what could be contradictory?
I mean, there's no blood anywhere to be seen here on the floor or anywhere else, so that could be it. I mean, the shoe itself is obviously not the thing. This doesn't do anything, neither does this, neither does this. This might, I don't see how, but, you know. The blue badge, no, obviously not, obviously not. Maybe, but unlikely. These are unlikely as well. I'll have to say the photograph. Nope. Oh yes, the music stopped. Okay. The problem lies in the footprint. The footprint? Note that the bottom of the victim's shoe is covered in blood. Then, isn't it strange? Why weren't any bloody footprints found by the scene of the crime? Yeah, there was no blood on the floor. As you can see, there were no traces of any such footprints as at the scene of the crime. That contradicts your claim about this shoe.
This picture only shows part of the floor, so there could have been bloody footprints.
Then why are they, Mr. Edgeworth? Then where are they, Mr. Edgeworth? Because we checked the scene and found nothing of the sort. Order. Well, witness.
What? Great going, Mr. Wright, but it's true that the lack of a footprint is a contradiction. But then we have to ask why there wasn't a footprint.
Oh. That's true. There has to be a reason why there wasn't a footprint.
Think, Mr. Wright, think!
Hey, I don't know why it's not there. I'm just good at finding contradictions. What?
I see. Now I get it.
Get what?
Our witness is more devious than I gave her credit for. We were hoodwinked to the very end. But she slipped. There is one vital hint to the truth in her testimony.
What are you talking about?
Think back to when she told us about apprehending the suspect. The chief prosecutor tried to resist, but her efforts were in vain. She knocked my hands aside, kicked over an oil drum. Oh, she's beautiful but deadly. A predator, this one. A leopard woman. Rawr.
Yeah?
I thought that was a strange thing for the normally cool-headed chief to do.
No kidding.
Now, witness, allow me to ask a very simple question. This oil drum, was it empty? Oh, that. I'm not sure I like your attitude, Mr. Edgeworth. Though apparently you're not the slowest conveyor belt in the lunchbox factory.
Witness, well, was the oil drum empty?
The oil drum kicked over by the chief prosecutor was brimming with water.
Water? What does that mean?
Still don't get it, Mr. Wright. Do you want to know the reason she knocked it over? The real reason?
Uh-huh, you don't mean...
Yes, the suspect knocked over that oil drum for one reason and one reason alone. To erase the bloodstains that would become evidence against her.
What? That ties things up quite nicely. The bloodstains left on the victim's shoes tie her quite clearly to this murder. Then after the deed was done, she knocked over the oil drum to erase the telltale signs.
Why, that's a prosecutor's specialty, erasing evidence.
And that reminds me, this guy's right hand was hurt. Didn't she say she'd cut herself when she stabbed him?
So that's when my sister's blood got on the shoe?
Well, I see no reason to prolong this trial.
Mr. Wright, do something, please.
What? What can I do?
Your sister's confessed to the crime and she tried to conceal it. But... Enough. There is no need for further debate. The verdict, Your Honor.
Very well.
But Angel Star is on the prosecution's side. She could have been lying about the water.
This court finds the defendant Miss Lana Sky.
Little girl, what did you just say? Huh? Me? Did you say that I, Angel Star, was on the prosecution's side? Well, yeah, you are. You're saying my sister hid evidence by erasing the bloody footprints. Well, I thought you'd had your fill, but here you are, demanding a second helping. Another lunchbox, a lunchbox called evidence.
Wait, witness, don't tell me you have something else. God damn it.
The time for deliberations is past. Any further comments and you will be held in contempt of court. Your threats don't scare the cough-up queen. Look at this. She took another photograph.
A photograph?
I had it just in case anyone had the gall to suggest that the white shoe didn't belong to the victim.
I see no room for error in this evidence.
Mr. Wright, wait, look at the asphalt in this photo.
Hey, it's clearly wet. Erasing the last trace of that from the court's mind. Immediately after the murder, the crime scene was washed with water.
Yeah, but okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Wright. I guess I couldn't help after all.
It's not your fault. I knew it couldn't win this case from the beginning, and it seems this is what your sister wanted anyway.
I'm sorry, Mia. Right, wet or not. Don't be so quick to throw in the towel. Get yourself up off the asphalt. Take another good look. Don't give up. Not until the bitter end. This is the last piece of evidence.
Very well. This time I'd like to declare a verdict for good.
Hold it! Okay, objection. Fair enough. Your Honor, wait.
What is it with you people? Can't I hand down my verdicts in peace anymore? Whatever it is, can it wait?
No, we can't. Then it will be too late. Look at this photograph, the last one submitted. This trial isn't over until we give each piece of evidence proper consideration. So, right. Are you saying there's a problem with this latest piece of evidence? Yeah, I'll think later. Yeah, there's a problem. Right or wrong, I've got to go ahead with this.
I suppose since we've come this far, we should give every claim a fair shake. Very well, Mr. Wright.
Okay. I mean, that looks weird, but... what about it? What could the problem be? I'd have to say this because it's the only thing I can see that looks weird. The problem in this photograph is here. Okay, that's wrong. Actually, no, it's right. What's this? There's something poking out of the car's muffler.
Wait just a moment, Mr. Edgeworth.
Your Honor?
You just said muffler.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Oh, goddammit, Judge.
However, I see no trace of a muffler or scarf of any kind in this photograph.
Edgeworth is dying inside right now. A muffler is also part on a car or motorcycle, Your Honor. Just think of it as part of the exhaust system, a pipe.
I see, and I see. What's that suspicious looking cloth sticking out of the car's muffler?
Huh. So what if there is something sticking out of the muffler? What does that have to do with this case? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sorry, Miss Starr, but it's not going to be that easy. In fact, you've already told us why this is important to the case. You said as much in your testimony. What?
Let's hear what Mr. Wright has on his mind. Tell us why you think this piece of cloth in the muffler is related to this case.
Because it's the muffler that Lana was wearing? Right? Surely. That's also... Yeah, go on. That's what she said. Miss Starr, recall your testimony for the court. Ah, yes, when I arrested her, she mentioned the muffler. That's what had me confused in my earlier testimony. Muffler, Could it be that the muffler you heard mentioned was actually this exhaust pipe? If so, that means this piece of evidence, this piece of cloth is vital evidence. Yeah.
Well, it seems we'll have to suspend the proceedings.
Suspend?
I find myself wondering about that piece of cloth. If we leave any question unanswered here, we do a disservice to the law. Have the car at the crime scene inspected at once and bring me that cloth. The verdict will wait until after we've seen all the evidence. Agreed?
I suppose so. Whew, that was close. But we made it. At least for now.
This court will adjourn for a 30-minute recess. It's lunchtime after all.
He's still hungry? That's wrong, game, come on. To be continued.